Hey guys, it's Hannah and this is Bookworms Talk, and today I'm going to talk about Finding Cinderella by Colleen Hoover. I've really been anticipating this one and I'm so happy that I got to read it early. And I mean, you guys know how obsessed I was with Six in Hopeless, and then Daniel, especially in Losing Hope. These guys are two of my favorite, I guess you would call them side characters, best friends of the protagonist, you know what I mean. Anyway, they are like my all-time favorites, easy. And so for them to have a story, I was very excited about. If you haven't read Hopeless, I would recommend reading that first because you kind of won't have a clue what's going on in this one. And that being said, I've had lots of questions while I was reading this and I'm trying not to spoil anybody, but I will say that yes, Sky and Holder are in here. So I'm going to tell you guys what this is about, excluding the spoilers, and then I will warn you when I jump into those. Okay, so obviously we know this is about Six and Daniel. So you guys remember that story that Daniel told Brecken and Holder about this girl in the broom closet and how he nicknamed her Cinderella, and we get that, guys. So when they had sex in that maintenance closet and they pretended that they were in love and they were just saying all these sweet nothings and just... it was a really sweet scene, and I think it was done well because I feel like it could go wrong very easily because it's literally, they're two strangers just in a maintenance closet, but it was done sweetly, like props. Obviously we get more of Six and Daniel and their hilarity. I think this is hands down the funniest book of Colleen's that I've actually read all of her books. So yeah, the funniest one. So you remember that encounter in the broom closet. Then like a year later, Daniel's had this relationship with Val and he was just miserable with her, and then he meets Six because Six is back from Italy now. And Daniel just immediately is like jaw drop, right? And he finds that as he gets to know her and the crazy shit that she says along with the crazy kind of crap that he says, I mean, his nicknames, Cheese Tits, he's just funny like that, and so is she, and they really vibe together. I was laughing up till about the last, like, 10 pages. Well, I don't really know in Kindle how many pages that is, but yeah, right up till the end, like 92%, I was just laugh, and then it turned into tears. So be ready for that. I was kind of thinking, oh, this is going to be very light the whole way through. I didn't really think that, just briefly. But Finding Cinderella, I'm going to directly quote from the synopsis, does not guarantee a happily ever after. This really is such a sweet read, and there's still that element of shock in this, and that is why I highly recommend you not watching the spoiler section on this until you read it. I don't know what I expected to happen, but I knew there would be that element of drama. I just didn't see what actually happened coming at all. So I don't want to spoil you guys, and that being said, I will jump into the spoiler section and see you guys later. Next time when you have read this, I'll see you guys later. Bye. Can we just go through a couple of Daniel's nicknames for people? Cheese Tits, Powder Puff, Dr. Shit Mitten. That's an interesting one. And then Val, obviously, and his sister Chunk. So there's this one part when Daniel and Six meet, and it's the herpes quote that Colleen posted about, and I was looking for it, and I laughed profusely at this part. So Six was eating with a spoon, and then Daniel takes a spoon and licks it, and she's like, I could have herpes, you know. I grin at her and wink. You somehow just made herpes sound appealing. So when Holder made Six quote-unquote off limits, and then Daniel explains, well, he just said no to that, which makes me only want it more. But that's really not the entire reason, but still, he's just like a little boy. I love Daniel's family the most I think I've ever loved a family unit in a book before, and this is a novella. So you know how Daniel had dated Val for a while, and his family always pretended like they liked her, reverse psychology. And they said, children are naturally inclined to make choices that will displease their parents. If we told you how we really felt about Val, you probably would have ended up marrying her just to spite us, which is why we pretended to love her. He had brought up Six before, and he's just like, yeah, no, I'm not bringing her around you. And then he leaves and his mom calls after him. Well, if it helps, we already love her, Daniel. She's a sweetheart. And beautiful, my dad says. She's a keeper. I shake my head. Y'all suck. So we already know about why Six, you know, nicknamed herself Six, even though her name is Seven, which is also an interesting name. Anyway, we know that whole story about when her parents moved her to Texas, she was mad about it, and so instead of being called Seven, she'd be like, no, my name's Six. And she was stubborn, and it stuck. And then Daniel's like, she gave herself a nickname. Perfect for him, right? My name was in the book too, his older sister. I just had to say that because it was cool. And it was spelled the same way as mine. I'm telling you, I laughed a lot in this. And this is one of those that I don't think I expected this particular wording, and it made it so much better. Six was talking to Daniel about how the guys just kind of skipped the whole dating part with her, and he's just like, those guys were fucktards. I'm serious, Six. Those guys all need a good kick to the clit because dinner talk is by far the best part of you. Kick to the clit. I'm okay with this. So when Daniel kissed Six in the restaurant next to someone changing a diaper, and she said, well, that's not how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to, you know, walk me to my door and accidentally touch my boob, and that is brought back. She backs up 2 steps until she's in her doorway. See you tomorrow. She begins to turn around and head into her house, but I grab her wrist and pull her back out. I wrap an arm around her lower back and lean up until my lips touch hers. I forgot to accidentally touch your boob. I catch her laugh with my mouth and graze her breast with the palm of my hand and then immediately pull away from her. Oops, sorry. I just found that so incredibly endearing and hilarious and so Daniel. And then it's explained to us why Daniel even dated Val, because no one liked her, including him. And I was always wondering about that. And it's because he thought for the first 15 seconds that he laid eyes on her, she might be Cinderella. So Brecken's a smart cookie, all right? He catches on to the vibes that they're giving off. And there's this word game that is played that I was just laughing at way too hard, I think. So they're going to Sky's house to have dinner. And Daniel's like, I said I'd be there. 6, right? Sky nods. 6:30. I'll be there at 6, Brecken says. He looks back at me and smirks. I bet you'll like to be there at 6 too, right, Daniel? You like 6. 6 is good for you. And he's just like, 6 is perfect. It's my favorite time of day. And it was just so funny. So 6 has said since she's been back from Italy, she's like, yeah, no, my window's out of commission. Sky crawls through her window and he's just like, I thought your window was out of commission. Only to people with penises. I laugh. What if I told you I didn't have a penis? She glances at me. I would probably rejoice. My experience with people who have penises never end well. I shake my head. That's not something my penis wants to hear you say. He has a very sensitive ego. She smiles and shuts her locker, then leans against it. Well, maybe you should go home after school and stroke his ego a little bit until he feels better. I cock an eyebrow. You just made a masturbation joke. She nods. So I did. I have the coolest girlfriend in the world. She nods again. So you do. So they're at dinner and Daniel's having to continue to pretend that he doesn't like 6 and she has to do the same, and it's just not gonna work like that. So Daniel and 6 make an excuse to leave for a minute, and then she mentions that maybe they only like each other because they're not supposed to, and he's like, no, because he was already so close to just giving it all up and rather taking Holder's shit than pretending that he doesn't like her. And so he goes back inside and he says this. She fist bumped me, I say, pointing to 6. It's not my fault. She hates purses and she fucking fist bumped me. Then she made me push her on the damn merry-go-round. After that, she demanded to see where I had sex in the park. Then she forced me to sneak into my own bedroom. She's weird and half the time I can't keep up with her, but she thinks I'm funny as hell. And Chunk asked me this morning if I wanted to love her someday, and I realized I've never hoped I could love someone more than I want to love her. So every single one of you who has an issue with us dating is going to have to get over it, because I pause and turn towards 6. Because you fist bumped me and I could care less, who knows, we're together. I'm not going anywhere and I don't want to go anywhere, so stop thinking I'm going to. I'm into you because you're awesome and because you let me accidentally touch your boob. Do you see why I like this book so much? This is one of those videos where I'm just reading a lot because it's hilarious or it's sweet, and why would I try to morph that into a summary when I can just read it to you? So 6 is at Daniel's house with his family, and his family, like I said before, this is why I love them so much. So Daniel's dad has insinuated to 6 that Daniel has talked to him about them not having sex, and she's just like, you talked to him about the fact that we haven't had sex? My father shakes his head. No, he doesn't have to. I know, because every night he comes home and goes straight to his bedroom and takes a 30-minute shower. I was 18 once. 6 covers her face with her hands. Oh my god. I guess I know who Daniel gets his personality from. My father nods. Tell me about it. His mother is terribly inappropriate. He's like my favorite ever. And then his mom, she comes in and she's like, what's going on? And then his dad, Dennis, says, I'm just telling Danny boy that I would never embarrass him in front of 6. My mother laughs. Well, as long as you aren't embarrassing him then. I'd hate for 6 to find out about the lengthy showers every night. He slaps the table and he's like, Mom, Jesus Christ. And it was just great. And then the bad happens. So remember in the maintenance closet how they said that they both just hated everybody, and that's kind of how they immediately clicked. Well, that happens. That turned into a song that I didn't mean to happen. And he says, I hate all of you, every last one of you. I quickly look at 6, except you, babe, I don't hate you. She smiles and wipes her mouth with a napkin. I know exactly what you mean. I hate everybody too. As soon as the words fall from her mouth, she looks away like she didn't just punch me in the gut and rip out my intestines and stomp them into the ground. I hate everybody too, Cinderella. The words I said that day in the closet are screaming loudly inside my head. There's no way. There's no way I wouldn't have noticed she was Cinderella. And then he calls her Cinderella, and then she realizes it, and she's upset, and she leaves, and she runs out to her car, and Daniel's like, she's embarrassed by this. How is she embarrassed? While he's so happy about it, and he doesn't understand. And then he follows her to her house, and he taps on her window, and he's telling her, you need to meet me at the park, and he's yelling at her, and then he, like 3 seconds later, is apologizing, and then he yells, and then he apologizes, and he's just like, just meet me at the park. You need to meet me at the park. And she does. They're on the swings, and she says, Daniel, I got pregnant. And that was about the moment when I was like, I knew this ad would come in, I knew it would happen, and it happened. It happened. And Daniel's doing the math in his head about how long she's been gone, and it's been about a year, and she's obviously not pregnant now, so we're left with 2 options, 3 options, I guess. Abortion, miscarriage, or adoption. None of those options are good. But then she says, I couldn't raise him by myself. I was already 18 when I found out. And he's like, how do you know it was a him? She gave him up for adoption. And Daniel is angry and has every right to be angry. And he's just so mad at her, and he's just like, you should have put fucking posters up at the school. Like, you should have done something. And she's like, I didn't know it was you. And he's just so furious. And I kind of do wish that she would have done something along the poster standpoint. I don't know, I feel like they'll be better for it later. That's a tough thing to say, but ultimately, it's what's best for the baby, right? And it would be what's best for them because they're so young. I'm not saying that they couldn't have just been amazing parents, because they could have, but I mean, let's just say it wasn't Daniel and it was some other random. Like, that other random wouldn't have helped. And she didn't know. And earlier in the story, she would avoid talking about Italy, and she had said, oh, a boy broke my heart in Italy. And Daniel finally pieces together that it was her son. And I love that I was misled to thinking it really was some sort of relationship that she had there, because it kept me from thinking, oh, this could have happened. My mind wasn't even on that track. So I like when I'm being misled like that. And he was mad at her, and he kept staying mad at her, but then at lunch one day, she's trying not to cry, but she is, and every time a tear falls, she flips the page of her book, and that breaks him. And she apologizes, but they both know that there's nothing that they can do. But then Daniel goes on to say that he knew that Sky and Holder were going to this school in Dallas, and that she was going there too, and that he had applied there and got accepted. And she's like, when did you apply there? And he's like, you know, the night after I actually met you. Formally, I guess. And she's like, I think we might really be in love this time, not just pretending. And she says, things are serious now. I think it's time I introduce you to my brothers. I stop nodding and start shaking my head back and forth. I may be exaggerating. I don't love you that much. She laughs. No, you love me. You love me so much, Daniel. You loved me since the second I let you accidentally touch my boob. This was such a freaking sweet read. I'm so excited for you guys to read this and tell me what you think about it. And I bet that everyone's gonna just say, is there another one? Is there a continuation? Is there another book? And I think that it actually works well where it stands. Don't get me wrong, I would love another, but I think it works just as is. So yeah, let me know all your thoughts down there in the comments, and I will see you guys later next on Bookworms Talk. Well, I will probably be discussing a poetry book. It's my first, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna even do a book talk on it, but we'll try to figure that out. The poetry book I'll be reviewing is Love and Misadventure by Lang Leave, and I'm really excited to tell you guys about it. So until then, I will see you guys later. Bye.